At the end of the day, they're able to violate certain guidelines, yet they still receive money somehow. How is there not somebody inside the state who's saying, okay, we are seeing this fraud happen, let's maybe not just continue to give money to these people?
I'm an outcast because I'm exposing this fraud. My family has basically disowned me because of all of this fraud that I've uncovered, and I've been called a racist, an Islamophobe, white supremacist, Nazi, all these things. And I said, look, everything that I talk about is verified. I have it in writing. This is approaching $100 billion, and now you see the U.S. Attorney, they started with Defeating Our Future, $250 million. Now, just today, the U.S. Attorney held a press conference and said the fraud is possibly as much as $18 billion, but we don't really know what period of time. I have been to many of these transportation companies, and I've been time-stamping my photographs for a whole year at one facility in Minneapolis, and those vans in that parking lot have not moved 1 inch in an entire year. They're all still sitting there.
And so when you think about it, you have, with the transportation companies, you have the adult care centers.
So my feeling is this transportation deal is kind of the belly of the beast, because you also have these charter schools, and they're getting somewhere around $20 to $30 million a year for what?
So 130 students, and they're receiving around $20 million. The fraud here is like exuberant amount of numbers. How about as to how much they're actually enabling to happen here? I even confronted one of the ladies myself, and she started to blame the fraud and deflecting it upon how there's fraud everywhere. And she didn't take any accountability. In fact, she blamed Trump for the fraud that's been happening here inside of Minnesota.
Right. So Kristen Robbins is the chairwoman of the fraud committee, and she was attacked by that Democrat member you were just talking about for not telling that committee about all this fraud. Well, the law says in Minnesota that if you are an elected or public official and you are aware of fraud or suspected fraud, it's Minnesota Statute 3.971, Subdivision 9, that you must report that fraud or suspected fraud immediately to the Office of the Legislative Auditor, the OLA, and then the OLA decides which law enforcement agency to refer the complaint to.